Today we're talking about the new Hudef Viva Pro Gen 2, a fully thermoformed paddle for under $120 with discount code. Not only is this paddle thermoformed, but it has a strengthening plate in the core that adds power and pop and makes this paddle literally feel like a Carbon 1X for 117 bucks. One of the most powerful paddles available at a budget price. In this video, we'll dive into the spin numbers, swing weight, twist weight, power ranking, and so much more. So without further ado, let's dink straight into it. The Viva Pro Gen 2 pickleball paddle comes in at $129. You can use code STSPickleball and get 13 bucks off, taking the price to only $117. The original Viva Pro had some manufacturing issues. People reporting that the paddle was breaking, delaminating, among other issues. But the nice thing is that it does have a lifetime warranty, so if any of the above happens, it's likely you can just get a brand new paddle. Well, with the Viva Pro Gen 2, you can definitely say goodbye to any breakage issues for sure, and I personally haven't had any issues with delamination, nor have I heard of any issues regarding delamination. This paddle is now seemingly premium through and through, and it's quite a bit more firm and power forward than its original Viva Pro model. One really nice aspect about the new Viva Pro Gen 2 is that the grip is now a one-piece grip. There is no exposed polymer and the grip is completely solid all the way around. Honestly, the new variation of this paddle feels way above its price point. It feels pretty freaking solid. The Viva Pro Gen 2 comes in at 7.8 to 8.3 ounces. It's an elongated shape with a swing weight of 124 and a twist weight of 6.45. The grip length is a pure usable 5.5 inches and the grip circumference is 4.125 inches. This core plate or core reinforcement technology, Hudef is calling it, supposedly optimizes the sweet spot and increases strength, providing, according to them, an additional 5% more stability compared to other thermoformed paddles, making it ideal for aggressive, offensive-oriented players. It is extremely firm and power-oriented off the face. One of the most firm and power-oriented feelings I honestly have ever personally felt. But before we can confirm if these claims are accurate, we have to dive into some numbers and analysis. So let's jump into that right now. The spin for the Hudef Viva Pro Gen 2 comes in at 1904 RPM, which I would consider top tier. It's not topping the charts, but anything above 1900 RPM and you're gonna see the ball dipping pretty hard over the net. At 1904 RPM, this paddle is pretty much ripping spin. Honestly, out of the box, I have a pretty good feel for what's going to spin well these days, and I could feel that this was a much more premium paddle than the original Viva Pro Gen 1. It just feels honestly really high quality. I think as far as first impressions go, when you receive this paddle, you'll notice that it feels way above its price point and looks really beautiful in person. So first, let's compare the Viva Pro Gen 2 to the most expensive paddles in the space. We have the Yola Perseus at $249 and coming in at $1796 RPM, and the Selkirk Labs 006 at $333 and coming in at $1833 RPM. The Viva Pro Gen 2 feel-wise is competing directly with the top power paddles in the space. It feels exactly like the Carbon 1X or the bread and butter Filth, and in my opinion, it might just edge them out a bit. The construction is really solid. Even little details like the one-piece handle now really gives this paddle a premium feel at a budget price point. I think if I could come up with a con for this paddle, even though it's crazy powerful at a budget price, I would say if you're coming from a Gen 1 paddle or something less power-oriented like a standard shaped paddle, prepare to take some time getting used to this one. The power and pop is pretty intense. I have heard other paddle reviewers comparing paddles to a Mack truck, and this would be one of those, I would say, smashes balls like a literal Mack truck. If you get a pop-up or any sort of ball you can rip down on, there's no chance it's coming back with the Viva Pro Gen 2. So let's jump into the power ratings here. I gave the Viva Pro Gen 2 a solid 9.6 out of 10 for power and an 8.8 out of 10 for pop. Some of the highest ratings I have given to any paddle at any price point. To compare that to the top ranked paddles in this category, I have the Carbon 1X at 9.5 for power and 8.3 for pop, and I have the Volair Mach 1 Forza at 9.5 for power and 8 for pop. And I have the Bread and Butter Filth at 9.5 for power and 8.4 for pop. And for reference, I have the $249 Yola Perseus at 7.8 for power and 7.4 for pop. So you can see for $117 after discount, the Hudef is a pretty crazy bang for the buck. If you're a power-hungry pickleball player, either looking for more power to enhance your game, or you're a power player looking for one of the top power paddles in the space at a great price, this paddle is a great pick for you. Let's talk about the sweet spot on the Viva Pro Gen 2. It's an elongated paddle, so it will have a bit of a tighter, less forgiving sweet spot than a standard shape paddle, but as far as elongated power-oriented paddles go, again, this feels almost exactly like a Carbon 1X or a Bread and Butter Filth, so the sweet spot is pretty solid. Honestly, in comparison to the Carbon 1X and the Bread and Butter Filth, the construction of this paddle almost feels more solid than both of those to me. It feels more, if you like the rigidity of a power-oriented paddle and you like that firmer feel, I don't know, it just has more rip through, more plow through than both of those paddles, which is crazy at the price point. The power is insane on this paddle. Off-center shots don't feel too rigid or dead, and off-center drives and serves still maintain their line and their aggressive nature. It is an incredibly firm paddle, but that firm feel off the face feels pretty linear over the entire face. Off-center dinks, drives, and serves all felt fine and maintained their trajectory. Again, you just have to be ready for the rigidity and the pop this paddle has. It's a lot. So for sweet spot rating, I gave the Hudef Viva Pro Gen 2 a solid 8.4 out of 10, which for an elongated paddle is really solid. To compare that again to some of the most expensive paddles in the space, we have the Yola Perseus at a sweet spot ranking of 6.9 out of 10, and the 006 at a sweet spot ranking of 7.2 out of 10. And to compare that to the Carbon 1X at 8.2, the Bread and Butter Filth at 8.3, and the Volair Mach 1 Forza at 9, you can see it's right in line with the best thermoformed elongated paddles available in this category. As far as control goes for the Hudef Viva Pro Gen 2, it is a more power-oriented paddle being an elongated shape, so for control, I gave it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Dinking with a paddle like this is fine once you get used to the rigidity and the power and pop it provides. To compare this rating to the most expensive paddles in the space, we have the $249 Perseus at 7.4 out of 10 and the $333 Selkirk 006 at 7.3 for control. And to compare that directly to the Carbon 1X at 7.5, the Volair Mach 1 Forza at 7.6, and the Bread and Butter Filth at 8, you can see it's again right in line with the top performing thermoformed elongated paddles in the space for control. If you're the type of person who is looking for or just enjoys an extremely firm paddle that is very power oriented in design, this could be a perfect paddle for you. At $117, it really is a great price for a paddle that feels like it performs as well, if not honestly just outperforms the Carbon 1X or the Bread and Butter Filth. For the price, it's a safe bet if you're interested in a super performing power-oriented paddle. If you want to see the top 5 control paddles for 2023, click here, have a freaking wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.